elder, be a lifesaver. Together, let's embark on this journey to save lives and be healthier.
Good afternoon to one and all present here on behalf of the Rotaract Club of Shahid Bhagat Singh College, RID 3011. I, Rotaractor Kopal, along with Rotaractor Komal, are delighted to welcome each and everyone present here. Let us give a round of applause to our Honorable Principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, who has warmly accepted our invitation to join us today. We are honored to have Dr. Rajesh Sharan, Dr. Damodar K, Dr. Dinesh and Dr. Akanksha Gaur here today to share their knowledge and expertise in this important workshop dedicated to CPR training with our students and faculty. Dr. Rajesh Sharan and Dr. Damodar sir are senior residents and Dr. Akanksha ma'am is a junior resident in the division of trauma surgery and critical care at JPM ATC AIMS New Delhi.
Rotaract is an amalgamation of social service with insightful thinking and endeavors to inculcate a spirit of global citizenship in young minds, while maintaining the feelings of compassion, thoughtfulness, and awareness toward current issues in their hearts.
The Rotaract essence has always endured towards helping the underprivileged and promoting unity over the years. It has been the most invigorating platform to exchange ideas and opinions. We strongly believe that to create an impact in the long run, we need to bring a change in ideology and thinking.
Now, we would like to invite our Honorable Principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, to facilitate Dr. Rajesh Sharan sir. Give a huge round of applause, guys. Thank you, sir.
Now, our convener, CA Rajkumar Agarwal and Miss Jasprit ma'am will come on stage to facilitate Dr. Damodar sir.
Give a huge round of applause, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Now, we would like to call Ms. Shivangi ma'am and Dr. Ranjana Thakur ma'am to facilitate Dr. Akanksha ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. At last, Dr. Nisha ma'am and Miss Pooja Rani ma'am will come on stage to facilitate Dr. Dinesh sir. Thank you, sir.
Moving forward, let us welcome our principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, to address the gathering.
A very good afternoon to all present here, and I am thankful to all the doctors from All India Institute of Medical Sciences for sparing their valuable time and coming for this workshop, which is a life-saving tool CPR that we call, and most of the time we see that there are fatal accidents which take place and we don't know what to do. So at least today you will come to know that in such situation you don't need any specialized doctor. Even you can also provide that emergency support. So you know that this is one of the whenever you talk about doctors, it's not about you in our college or in university also there are a lot of doctors, but when it comes to medical doctors, so they are always highly respected because they save lives. So here we are the doctors, but we help in nurturing the career, but their role I think is more important because they save lives. So I am thankful to all the doctors from All India Institute of Medical Sciences that they have agreed to Rotaract Club's request to come and have this workshop. And I am also thankful to the organizers, Rotaract Club convener, co-convener, and all the team members and the students, those who have done a lot of hard work to organize this workshop. So I think that this is going to be very interesting, and we have made arrangement of having this live on YouTube so that after it also it will be there. So whenever the students want to see it, they can see it, because many students are not able to come for this workshop. They are attending their classes. So later on they can have this, they can see this, and they can learn about how to do that. So once again, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Today, we embark on a journey to empower ourselves with life-saving skills that can make a crucial difference in emergency situations.
CPR is a fundamental technique that can help sustain life until preferred. That can help sustain life until professional medical assistance arrives. In this workshop, we will delve into the essentials of CPR, understanding its importance, mastering the techniques, and gaining the confidence to act safely and effectively during critical moments.
Now, we would like to call upon the doctors to take over and start the session. Give a huge round of applause, guys.
Excuse me. इसका स्लाइड चेंज होगा. स्लाइड चेंज. स्लाइड चेंज.
So let's start from statistics. So as you all know, two-wheeler accidents are most common in our country. It's because one thing, we don't wear helmet, we drive rash, and all our high-end CC bikes, which doesn't have much of the regulations. So our country tops the two-wheeler accident among the whole of the world. So this is an example. This is like normal this person, see him as a young male. He is the only bread earner of the family, and he has left for office in the morning. He has just waved goodbye to all his family members and has started the office at 9 o'clock. And 9:10, a call arrives to the family members saying that so-and-so person of your family is lying in the hospital bed at a hospital, trauma center. So always think of the grief of the family first. The only breadwinner of the family, and he is a father, he is a son, he is a husband. So this is the scenario of most of the patients or most of the trauma victims. So never see as a patient. You always have to see as a collective, a family. Always the perspective change. So patient comes as this way, and he is the one, initially we receive the patient as this. So most of his face has been deformed because of the body fractures or whatever, and this is how we could save the patient. Though we could save the patient, but his condition would never be as such. As you see in movies, complete face transplantations and all, that doesn't happen in real life. The complete without scarless and all usually doesn't happen in real life. It's highly impossible. So this is how it will be after once the patient has been revived and the resistance and surgery has been done. So definitely this would definitely be the patient will not be so much enthusiastic as before to go to his work because of the social inhibitants, you can say it, inhibition of social inhibition, you can say it. So all these have to be kept in mind. Don't see a patient as a victim, only as a trauma victim, he is just a patient. No. So a Boeing jet carries 400 passengers, as you all know. It's a big aeroplanes. So deaths in 2010 from road traffic accidents, each single day are more than what happens, what a Boeing jet carries number of passengers. So it's a major health problem, and trauma is the most common reversible injury in worldwide. Most common reversible injury. So I'm using the term reversible. So take it cancer or take it heart attacks or take it whatever, those all are not in our hands. The patient's life or prognosis or whatever happens to them next is not in our hands. But trauma is a reversible. If someone who sees the patient immediately, if responds immediately and takes him to nearest hospital with basic first responder maneuvers, the patient can be saved and patient can be revived. So this is the most common reversible injury. So that's why I'm using the term reversible. And of course, Delhi is the second most common city in the country for road traffic accidents. After succeeding Mumbai. Mumbai is the most common city with the highest number of accidents, and trucks are the most common non-user friendly vehicles. Maybe because the truck drivers are not well educated or they are not being made well aware of all the traffic rules or whatever. So those are the most common non-user friendly vehicles on the road. So in our country there are two types of situations. As you can see in newspapers, one day the newspapers or the media is the one which brings everything to limelight. So one day you might notice in a newspaper that the patient has been lying on roadside for almost 2 hours, 3 hours, not even a single ambulance or single police person or single citizen has taken care of, and there are no facilities for the patient to be shifted to a nearby hospital facility. And you can also see, on the other hand, the government will be boasting like we have launched 200 ambulance services, we have launched 8 ambulance services in so-and-so district and so-and-so country. These are two phases. Our country is living in both phases. But when this doesn't reach this, there is no use. It's all about coordination. So who coordinates? Don't always leave and blame it on the government or the government servants or whatever. Everyone who is present there or who has witnessed or who has first seen the patient are responsible for all this. Anyone. You can just, it's not only calling ambulance and just leaving from there. It's about all the basic caring due to the patient or to victim. So the urge should be within us to save the patient's life. So you know it's 108 ambulance, which is almost seen in 22 states and union territories, which is having both advanced life support and basic life support for all. So there are trained ambulance drivers and paramedics who come with the ambulance, but even before they arrive, there should be something to be done by us. So that is what we are going to share our perspective with you. So 10 golden rules for road safety. I think every one of you know, but never follow. All of us know. So stop or slow down whenever you come across a pedestrians or even at the traffic signals or traffic lights or whatever. Stop and slow down. Always when I'm telling all these rules or whatever, even if not till now, from now on, just have in mind about that a family is being affected if you are being rash or not following rules and properly. Don't think of only a victim or a patient or a person. Always think of a family, which is the main thing of the nuclear of the society. So stop and slow down and buckle up your wear helmets and wear seat belts in the car. Take care of the babies when in the car. Obey traffic rules and signs. So many of us go in the wrong way to take the shortest route. Many of us do it. We see so many doing it, and many of us cross the white lane when there is a road without a divider to reach fast. So these all things should be stopped by us. It's not that we only do. Those who are doing also should be condemned definitely. So obey speed limits. Of course, speed limits should be obeyed. Keep vehicle fit. Always take care of a vehicle. Be for a regular service, and all the brakes and everything should be checked. And never use mobile phones while driving. આજકાલ there are all the vehicles are equipped with Bluetooth devices, I know, but even that will cause distraction to you. Unless it's emergency, do not attend the calls. At least try to stop by roadside and try to attend the calls. I see so many persons, or you, even some of you also might be doing driving bike with one hand and texting without seeing. That's what most of us boast of too. I can text without seeing. Koti pad. So these all should be avoided. Never drive dangerously. Of course, speed limit. And one most important thing is don't mix drinking and driving. Never drink and drive. It's not about reaching the home or whatever. It should be that your conscious level will be hampered when you are drinking and driving. You can't take a decision. Suppose you are driving, maybe you are at speed limit of 30, maybe with less speed. You think I'm going slow, let me drink and drive, no issues, I can reach home when you are going at slow speed also. But as an idea, if you see someone crossing the road, you think he will cross the road fast. You can't think like a conscious person. So you end up hitting someone else. So drinking and driving should never be combined. So right to emergency care, do you all know that you might have seen in movies, if you take the patient to hospital, at a trauma or accident victim to hospital, they tell you go and register a police case first and then bring the patient to us, then only we start treatment. And also there are things which are shown like whoever brings the patient first to the hospital should be liable to come attend the court cases and also to be as a witness or whatever. So this all has been ruled out in Supreme Court judgment in 2007. So any first responder who brings any patient to the hospital should be received by any hospital, be it a big center, small center, whatever. It can take to any center. No one can deny any treatment based on monetary expenses or resourcefulness. First aid should be done to all patients. They should be resuscitated, and also these patients, they should not ask any money from the patients or from the bystanders, and bystanders are not entitled to go and report to the police or nor to attend any proceedings further. Your job ends once you drop the patient to the proper medical facility. So it's not like don't keep this in mind, police case hoga, mera queue unnecessary time waste hoga, aisa nahi hai. That's all has been ruled out now. You can just go, drop the patient to the hospital, and it's the duty of the hospital personnel to inform the police. It's not our duty, and not first responder duty. So what are the manpower we have in pre-hospital setup? This all I'm talking about pre-hospital. The patient has not yet received in the hospital. He's just a victim still. So he's at the scene, and who are all the bystanders or the first responders? So emergency medical technician, the one who sits at the back of the ambulance, who takes care of the patient. So these are trained personnel. These are called the paramedics. They are trained for all resuscitation of the patient to take them safely to the hospital facility. And advanced emergency medical technician who can intubate the patient if required, if the patient is not good, who can give good CPR and everything. And paramedics and doctors. These are what we know who are the first responders. And also the police personnel usually are considered as the first responders. And also the most common long-term first responders are students. Students, NCC cadets or volunteers, whoever. It's not like, don't think like you should be voluntarily going and helping someone because you are bound to. It should come from within. It's always an urge to save a person. So any one of you can be a first responder or bystander. There are very few simple techniques. This is not a science. This is a basic thing which we are going to teach you. It's not a great science that I can't do it, maybe why, what if I break something else, what if I do some harm to the patient, nothing. Basic thing which is useful for any trauma victim. Whatever the injury the patient has sustained, these all manuals are useful for any of the patient. So aims of the first aid, of course, to save life, to prolong the life of the patient, to maintain his circulation, and to promote recovery of the patient, and to help ensure safe transportation to the medical facility. So I already told you the legal implications during first aid. You are not bound to any police inquiries or any proceedings or whatever. You are not bound to any financial burden on yourself. It's duty of the giving care. And one more thing is, whenever you see a patient stuck in a vehicle, a patient has met with an accident, be it a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler or a truck or whatever, if the patient is lying on roadside, okay, fine. And what about the patient is stuck in the vehicle? So rapidly the patient has to be safely, and rather the patient has to be extricated out of the vehicle. This is also very important. I will let you know how this is important based on the patient's bone fractures or whatever. We'll let you know. So pre-hospital care policies. One is scoop and run. Take the patient, get to a nearest medical facility and stay and play. So never go stay and play. Don't see whatever we tell you now. It's not that you have to make the patient lie on the road and do all the manuals there itself. All this has to be taken care of during the time the patient is taken to the nearest hospital facility. Never make the patient late to hospital facility because I am doing CPR. I should give breaths to the patient. I should stop his bleed. I should stabilize his fracture. So these all things should not stop the patient from being transferred to a nearest medical facility. This all should happen simultaneously when the patient is being transferred. You will be calling and you will start giving the CPR or whatever we tell you, whatever is needed for the patient, and the ambulance should come. In last time maybe CPR wo sab chalta hai. It's not that you should stop, you do everything. When the patient is back to life, then only I'll take to nearest hospital facility. It's not that. You should scoop. It's always like scoop and run. So I'll let my colleague Dr. Rajesh to take care from here. Am I audible to the last? Okay. So far we have talked a lot about the theoretical aspects of all the CPR and other stuff. So I think now we'll make it more of a practical thing. Okay. So what we are going to tell you is something that you can employ whenever needed. Okay. Again, it is whenever needed. It is not like every time. As I was saying, it is not like every day, everywhere you will have to do that. Okay. So about this.
Slide.
Okay, so there are 4 things that you should be remembering about ABCD. So what is ABCD in trauma patients? We'll just keep it a bit more interactive. Okay, now it is towards lunchtime. I don't want everyone to sleep off over here. Okay, we'll just make sure this half an hour is fruitful for you also, for us also, for coming over here teaching. Okay, we'll just make it a bit interactive. So somebody just tell me, what do you know about this ABCD of trauma? Okay, or like anything else? Okay, just I'll start with it. So ABCD is the basic thing that is our protocol that we follow in trauma. The A denotes your airway. So first thing, we'll have to take care of the airway of the patient. So basic is what you can do when you see a patient who has had a trauma is to secure his airway. So medically that we will be taking care of. In the initial sitting, you should make sure whether his airway is tightened or not. Just have to confirm it. So how do you find out that whether his airway is tightened or not? You talk to the patient. You ask the patient if he is responding, then that means his airway is still patent. If you find some difficulty, patient is having some difficulty, basic thing that you have to do is put him on a lateral position. Okay, take his hands like this and then put him on a lateral position. Even if it is obstructed, even if he has any issues with the airway, it will help them to open up the airway. Okay, that is the basic thing that you will have to do initially. So coming on next is the cervical causes. As long as your cervical spine is intact, your airway is not going to get, because the respiratory centers that helps us in breathing is located in the cervical, around the cervical spine. All those structures that are responsible or helpful are located. So it is, along with the airway, it is very important for us to secure the cervical spine also. So for that, we usually use all these collars in hospitals. In the basic thing in the field, that what you can do is make sure that his neck is not tilted so much, is not mobilized so much. So the practical part, the other demonstration will tell you in some time. So what we see here is there is a mannequin over there represents the patient somewhere where we have found. So a patient should be taken to a safer place. First thing that you have to think about is the scene safety. Before attending any patient, any person who is lying on the road, first thing that you have to take care is the scene safety. Scene safety matlab कुछ respond करना है. If I'm giving a pause, that means I'm expecting someone to say something. ठीक है? तो scene safety मतलब you'll have to check whether it is safe to do all those things over the same place. If the patient is away from the exposure of the problematic thing, if it is a fire, you take him away from fire. Doesn't mean that you go inside the fire and get caught fire yourself. Okay? It is about the patient, the person's safety, and also it is your safety. You also should be safe. Doesn't mean that you are injuring yourself and then trying to save the other person. That should not happen. Okay? That is more of scene safety. Once you have secured the patient, you have taken him to a floor, hard floor, where a patient is lying on his back. So his airway is something that we will have to secure. So if we are seeing the patient who is not breathing, we try to give breaths. How do you get breaths? If we have a mask or mask, we can try to give that. So simple is what we can do. You see in all the movies also. All the old movies, all whatever they say, mouth to mouth respiration, दे सकता है. So that is also again, all scene safety, everything has to be checked. Then you try to give. So how much you will give?
It is like that has to go hand in hand with the compressions. Your airway has to be secure. So another than if you're not able to do all those things, you can just do a simple maneuver. You can just hold this jaw and then lift it. So what happens when you lift the jaw? This throat opens up. Basically, here if it is lying down, if it is compressed or check whether the patient's if he is breathing. Even if it is patent also, you have to see whether he is breathing. If there is any issues with the breathing. Am I audible like this? Is it okay for you people? You need the mic. So you will have to see if the patient is breathing or not, or if breathing pattern has some changes, whether he is hyperventilating, breathing more than what is required. Something that when you see that captures you, puts the blood patient go. As I said, all these things has to be seen. That means the patient has some issue that you need some help for the patient. So third comes the C. B we are C. C is the circulation. Circulation means our blood vascular system. So the bleeding that we are talking about is the control of the bleeding. So basically we are talking here about the external bleed. You see a patient who is bleeding profusely. So what are you expecting? What are you expected to do? Exactly. So you just have to apply a simple pressure that will most probably take care of the issue also. It may not be a very big thing. If it is a very simple bleed, if you don't do that simple maneuver, what happens is that person will bleed to death also. By just doing a simple compression, you are going to prevent that. That would have made a big difference to the patient. You might not know the implications of it, but then it might have done a big, whatever is possible. You can even do it with your hand. Any small cloth that you are getting, even with that also you can do a simple compression that will more than help. And then try to secure it with any kind of cloth that is available over here. So, the tourniquet means to get any wire or something, try to just apply pressure over it. Okay, and then apply tourniquet just above the injury where it is bleeding. That will most probably help the patient. So next thing that we are saying, what we have talked previously, the most important thing that everywhere we see is the chest compressions. So what do you understand by cardiopulmonary resuscitation? That is CPR. Anyone? You don't have to be right also, you can just tell us what it is. We just give us an idea of what you know about it. Okay, that is also one thing. It is somewhere you see someone who is lying down without showing any significant signs of life to your eyes. Patient is not responding to you. The basic thing that we do is we give chest compressions so that we expect the heart to start back. This is the basic thing. So, but then it is not like for every patient who is not responding, you will directly go and start. There are certain things. That is how everywhere it is being projected, but that is not how it is. You will have to check a few things before doing this chest compressions. In an alive patient who is just lying down and sleeping on the road, you go and do it. Obviously, it is going to cause some problems. Okay? So there are some things that you will have to check before doing this chest compressions. So what are all the things that you expect us to check? You have to check before starting compressions. The basic thing you will check for pulse. Where all you will check for pulse. Next, hands. Okay, good. Whenever you are seeing a patient who is not responding to you, call the patient is not responding. You try to wake up the patient. If you know the name of the patient, you call by the name. So you just try to move the patient. So you just try to arouse him. So if he is not doing, then you check for the pulsation. Where you check is always the carotid. This is where the major artery goes. It is the direct branch from the heart. So here you will be able to see significant amount of pulsation. This will be mostly the last vessel to lose its supply. So you will check over here, which is around your neck. Everyone turn to your right side or left side. hamstring muscle over here. On the side of it, you just press and see if you are able to feel a pulsation. Here, this is the muscle that we are talking about. So you just press over here and feel there is a pulsation. That is the carotid pulsation that we are talking about. Okay, that is where you first see. So he is not responding. You see patient is not breathing also. Then you can start your chest compression. See, patient is not responding to you. Before doing that again, you will call for help. Always have in mind you are trying to help the patient. You are trying to help the patient, but again, you should not, again, whatever it is, do not stop until you should first get help. Call for other help. Professional help has to be called for. You call an ambulance, you call somebody who is around you, you call for an ambulance, get the medical help also. Okay. So, further you start compressions. So, how do you start compressions? That is like, you have seen some movies where you have seen compressions. How do you do chest compression? So, how do they do? You keep your hands over the chest, center of the chest, and start compressing. Okay? But again, there is again a way to do. It is not like random, wherever you feel you can do. Okay? Heart is around the center and towards the left side. Okay? So there is a chest cavity that is here. There are bones around. That is the rib cage. You have the sternum in between. Towards the lower part of the chest, you have your heart. So somewhere in the midline of the sternal area, you keep your your dominant hand. Whichever is your dominant hand, you keep it over the this is the midline where you will have the sternum also. Towards this side, towards on the left side, you see this is usually the position. The patient is lying supine on the floor. The one who is trying to help, he is on the side. On the left side or right side you can be. Left side preferably when you are giving a CPR. So you keep your palm of the dominant hand over the center and then you will have to interlock it. Interlock as they करना है. This is the dominant hand and over it he is trying to interlock the hand. And this is how it has to be steady. Your hands have to be steady. Again. So one more thing is while you are so whenever you are giving these compressions, you have to make sure your elbows are straight. Whenever you are giving compression, your elbow has to be straight. You are leaning over the person whoever is there, and your movement should be from the lower back. It is not from your shoulder. It should not shrug. Okay, it is more from your entire back. Your weight should be put on the patient, and your elbow should be straight. The hip acts as the fulcrum over here. Okay, you have to keep moving your back basically. It is not your shoulder that you have to shrug. So how much you will give? That you have to give an order. Somebody can just see and read it also. Okay, it is around 100 to 120 compressions per minute we have to give. What is the normal pulse rate of a patient, heart rate of a patient? Yes, it is around 70 to 100. It depends on the patient. Okay, so we will be trying to keep it at the same level, on the higher side. Okay, around like 100 to 120 we try to give. So whenever you are giving this compression, there is one more thing that you have to take care of. You press the patient like this, that is not going to give you enough compressions. Your compression should be at least 2 inches or 5 centimeters. The anteroposterior, we're talking of technically speaking, the anteroposterior length is there. With that 5 centimeter of compressions you will be giving.
So, and every compression you should try to keep it equal, same amount of depth you should try to give, and then adequately relaxation also you should give. Okay, that is also more important. You should allow, it is basically from outside you are trying to pump the heart. Okay, that is what these compressions mean. You are trying to pump the heart which is not able to do by itself. Okay, so that is what you are trying to do. So you have to allow it to recoil. If you don't do that, what happens? Your blood is not going to flow inside the heart. You are not doing any good to the patient. Okay, that adequate amount of relaxation, that means recoil also should be there for the patient. So your compressions is going to go like this. You are going to do 30 compressions, and then you have to give a small break where you give 2 breaths. That is rescue breaths. पहले आगे में हम बात किया ना, तो माउथ में दे सकते हैं, नहीं तो you can keep a mask over it and then you can use a bag and then try to give. Okay, all those things are there. So, and you will give for 5 cycles generally. 5 cycles देने के बाद you will again check the pulse. This may also, if you see the patient is responding, patient पहले respond नहीं कर रहा था, अभी he started responding. So that means that thing you have to stop. You should not keep doing it. So that
You have to keep in mind. देखिए, whenever again to give 1 cycle of CPR, 2-3 cycles of CPR, any healthy individual will have problem. And it is not like you will become a hero over there and then keep giving CPR. Then somebody will have to go to you. Okay. So now when we are showing you with the mannequin, you will be able to understand how it will be to give continuous CPR. Okay, so every time you should, the other person, that is why you call for help. Okay, the other person who has come to help, that person should try and change. It should be, the CPR should be, the person should be keeping on changing. So next is the disability part. So this is, initially all these things has to be taken care of. Other than that, this is basically to assess if the patient's like brain functionality, if the higher mental functions, basic brain functionality is there or not, that we have to. And along with usually road traffic accidents you have a lot of head injuries also associated. So again, you'll have to just see whether the patient is alert. You've already you have tried to wake up the patient who is alert, whether he is voicing out something, or how he is like, if he is having any pain, all those things you will have to basically assess over here. So, have you seen people being taken like this? Do you think this is the right way to do? Why do you think it is not the right way to do? Can somebody, I think,
He's not upright.
can,
Straight.
then,
Neck is not being supported.
it is more about the, during the transfer, it is more about the, some other bone that we are talking about. I think initially also I had mentioned about it. Back. Spine, basically, spine that I am talking about. Cervical spine that I am talking about. So that is not supported, and spine is also not supported. Patient, what happens is, if at all this patient has some spine issue, take a patient, he will be intact, he will not have any issue, he will be trying to move. While the first responders, when they are moving, they might not know what is the issue with the patient. So, if they move the patient like this, what happens? If there is a stable fracture, if the fracture is not moving or anything, when you move the patient like this, what happens? The fracture segments will start moving. Then it will compress the cord that is there inside, and patient will have even chances of permanent disability. He might not be able to move the limb down. Or if it is a cervical spine, patient is being taken over here, taken like this. If it is cervical spine that is involved, its respiratory centers will be involved. So what happens? Patient might not have, he will have issues with the respiratory. some patients we still have a lot of patients in our hospital who have been on bed for like years together because they can't respire by themselves. Everything else is in, they can't respire by themselves. Basically, nothing else is just cervical spine injury. So this is not the right way to transport the patient. Okay? So that is why initially also when we talk, we always ask to put the patient to be lying on the back on a hard floor. Okay, on a straight floor. Okay. So this is something called the spine board. So this is something that we use to transport patient. Because in the initial thing we won't know whether the patient is having spine injury or not. Every time we should transport the patient on a plain board like this. Whichever hard plain board that is possible, we should try to transport the patient. Again, there is a way to use this board also. It is not like you can just pick up the patient and put him over. There is a way to move the patient also. So this is something called the log where you transport him. So initially your help has come, everything has reached you. So you are supposed to transport the patient. Again, while moving the patient, you will have to be more careful. The patient is lying on a hard floor, on a straight floor. So this is called log. See, it usually needs at least 3 or 4 people. One person should be at the head stabilizing the C-spine. So there is a way you have to hold it by the shoulder. You should hold near the ears with your forearms, and then you will have to try to jump. This is what this instrument is trying to do. So his hand is around here. He is trying to support the head also so that it doesn't move a lot. And there is one more person over here. One hand of him is on his shoulder, the other one is there on his thighs. There should be ideally one more person who will support this hand again here also. And then with the count of this person who is on the head, because he is the most important person, he can see what is up over there. So he is the one who should be giving the call. You call 1, 2, 3 and then you shift. That means you will move the patient in this. That means we are trying to keep the spine stable over here. If you see this patient, the spine is stable. Then the other person, the fourth person who is here, he will push the spine board down. And then it will go. If the patient is totally on one side, the spine board will fully go underneath, and then you will have to move the patient. And over the board you can move the patient so that he is in. And the spine board you can usually pick up and then transport the patient. So these are basic things we will be explaining more also. Then one more thing is the bleeding that we were talking about. So basic thing to do is to give a compression. Okay, bleed you can just give a compression, just put a bandage over it so that to some extent you will be able to stop the bleeding. And then the clotting factors everything will come in place and then will try to settle the bleeding. The body is a very beautiful machine. Okay, it has its own mechanism to stop all these. It will try its best to do all these things. But then we just give more trauma to it that it can't be able to do. Okay. So these are all some simple wounds where you can just cover so that the bleeding can be prevented. And again, when you see some patient who has some impaled object, somebody got a knife stuck to his chest, to his abdomen or to his leg, never ever try to take it out. Transport that patient in the same position. Try not to take out the impaled object. What happens if you try to take out all these? Exactly. All these movies are all bullshit over here. It tells you to take it out and run. Okay? Nothing works like that. Practically nothing works like that. Superficial injuries you will escape. If it is a deep injury, this instrument whichever is stuck, that will be the one that might be tamponading, that will be blocking the vessel from bleeding. Okay, if you remove it, he will bleed to death. There are chances that he will bleed to death. See this patient, this is just below the heart. You might not know whether it has injured it or not. You remove it, touching the heart and then it is holding in place. When you remove it, if the heart is open, if the heart is lacerated, what will happen? He would have bled to death. Patients like this should be directly shifted to our any nearby facility. Further on, they will be taken care from there. Okay? Keep in mind this one specific thing. You are not supposed to remove any object that is stuck inside any person's body that you are seeing. And again, you will see some patients with any bony injuries. We are reading like that, bony injuries. Basically, you can just try to split the injury. You can use a small cardboard, any branch from the any tree that you can use. You just have to try to stabilize whatever position it is. You try to stabilize it. Because if you just leave it like that, if it is a fractured wound, you by more amount of movements, mobility of that segment, whichever has fractured, you can cause more injury to the patient than what he has actually wired. There might be some blood vessel that is around it that might also be injured. Okay? And then along with that, because of the mobility, there might be more amount of swelling also. That will almost increase the amount of infection also after once the treatment is also being done. Okay? All these are just to hold, and also it prevents the amount of inflammation that is happening also. That will try to bring it down. So I think most of you would have seen this thing everywhere. Donate blood, but not to the road. Okay, try to be safe whenever you are. I think we are done. So we will now move to the work.
Everyone can see this mannequin? Like this one, you can stand and sit. One more hand is open, but if anyone wants to work, you can see the mannequin. Yes. Is it okay? Yeah. So, they already told you how to do CPR and how to stabilize cervical spine. Cervical spine is the neck. Where the spinal cord from our brain takes signals to all our body muscles. Be it your hands or legs, whatever are moving, it's because of the spinal cord which is going all through the vertebra. So the neck part of vertebra is called cervical spine. That should be taken care of. So suppose you see a patient. Imagine this is a patient on a lying on the roadside after an accident. It's a bike and it was lying apart, the patient is bleeding and his patient is on the road. So everyone imagine this patient on the road. So first what you do, just now you already have heard what you do, so let's interact. First what you do, you see the other patient. First safety of the seat. Yeah, seat safety. Suppose the patient, his bike is lying here and there is a fire on the bike. It might get blasted or the tire might get blasted or the bike can get fire, whatever it happens. So take the patient at least to a safe place. Just to a flat area, wherever it is, take a safe place. Suppose the patient is lying on the divider with half legs hanging down the divider. First, make the patient lie flat on the road. Anywhere, a flat hard surface, the patient should be made lie down. Okay? Flat on a hard surface. So then next what do you do? Not direct ones, first anywhere. So anywhere, so don't think like that, complicated terms anywhere. So what you think is talk to the patient. Sir, by whatever, call him. See if he is responding to you. See how he is responding. Was he full alert? मैं बेटी को थोड़ा फ्रैक्चर हुआ करके देख लो करके ऐसे बोले तो इस फाइन you don't go for CPR directly. ठीक है? These happen. We have heard of these stories too of the patients who have got here. Patients, though he was talking, the bystanders who were trying to help the patient, they told, "Chup raho करके they start CPR." Yeah, this happens. So I said, if the patient is alert, if the patient is conscious, so do not try to give him CPR. Shift your focus onto where the patient is having pain or bleeding or whatever, try to stop the bleeding. Okay, so first thing, spine, So spine stabilization, just his neck should not be tilted sideways or whatever. It should be straight, lying on the flat surface straight. If the patient is alert, tell him, but don't move your neck sideways. Be straight, be straight. If he's alert. If he's not alert, make his neck straight and he should not move from there. That's what you can do. Or even if you think the neck अपने आप से ऐसे गिर रहा है ऐसे है तो keep it straight. Like some cardboard or whatever you find the bricks or whatever, keep on either side. So neck will be center. That's it. So stabilize your cervical spine so that his respiration will not be tampered and patient might not go into paralysis later. For all the spine, this holds good. Okay, you assess the response of the patient. Now the patient is not responding. Next, what to do? What to do next? The patient is not responding. He is not responding to anything. He is lying cold flat. So check the pulse. So everyone take your dominant hand, right hand or whatever. Move your neck to slightly to right or left, whatever, whichever you feel. Whichever is fine, anything is fine. So just palpate here on the side. You will feel a big pulsation you can feel. Everyone is able to feel the pulse or no? Just move your hands आगे पीछे you will find the pulse. Definitely. You can feel? Everyone? So that is the carotid artery. We call it carotid artery, which is a direct branch from heart to brain. So before, suppose there is, suppose there is no pulse. Then what will do? So before giving CPR, you should know why we give CPR. It's not only to make the heart come back again. You check this pulse, right? This pulse is taking your blood from heart to brain. So when there is a cutoff of blood supply from heart to brain, brain can withstand only without greater oxygen for about 6 minutes, not more than that. Even less than that. I'm telling the man that even less than that, the brain goes into permanent ischemia, we call it, bloodless brain. So even if you have a patient, he'll lie flat all his life. His brain will not function. He'll be a vegetative state. So dividing his blood supply to brain is the most important thing. So once you start CPR, heart also knows which is the most vital organ, brain. So even once the heart starts to come back, it will not give its blood supply to the rest of the body. Heart selectively you send its supply to the brain first, immediately. So the first pulsation is to feel a carotid once the CPR is successful. Once the CPR to start, and carotid pulse is the last to go. Heart also, हो गया करके last to give
it will just give you a chance by how the heart. So the last pulse to go is your carotid pulse. So brain is the last organ to lose its blood supply. So main aim is to make your heart pump back and jaldi give your blood supply to the brain. So that the brain will then control all the functions of the body. So the brain is not revived. It's been 30 minutes, 40 minutes, still you are not getting it. That means the brain is without blood for all this time. So it's of no use even if the patient survives. You'll be in a disturbed state all life lying on the bed. So your main aim should be start early CPR. They don't immediately start. So once you're not check pulse, you start CPR. So how do you do CPR? Anyone can tell? So all of you take a dominant hand, spread it out. Yeah. And the other hand, so interlock. Interlock and lock the dominant hand. So this is what is the position. Okay. So this palm of the dominant hand should be placed directly on the center of the body, that is sternum. I will make everyone do, don't worry. If anyone can't see, just analyze it. So heart doesn't lay to the left. As portrayed in so many movies or media, whatever knowledge is, heart is not to the left. Heart is in the center and the base of the heart is directed towards left. The heart will be like this. It's not in the left. It will be in the center, directed towards left. This is how the heart is. So which is called sternum. If everyone can feel your, see in the center of the chest, it is hard bone. All the ribs will come and attach to the bone. From the पीछे vertebra से आगे to the sternum, all your ribs will be attached. So this is called sternum, which directly lies above the heart. This is the naked structure protecting your heart. So that is where you have to start giving your compressions. That is where CPR. So to make your fist like this, interlock, and locate the patient's sternum. Okay. Each of the hand spread out, no issues. Keep on the sternum directly. And one more thing, as see, I'm just conveying because of the movies, because that is where we are most of us influenced. ठीक है? So it's not like ऐसे देना है, ऐसे नहीं होगा compressions. Some movies will be like this, no. ऐसे नहीं देना है. ठीक है? There is a, see, your hands, your elbows should be straight. There is no bending of elbows. Bending of elbows will not give enough energy for you to give that 2 inch or 5 centimeters of the chest compressions. So your hand should be straight. Your weight should fall on the patient like this. आगे. If the patient is at the higher ground, take him to flat surface, you kneel down and you give CPR. So keep your hands elbows straight and lean on the patient forward. You should be above the sternum. On patient forward, attach like this. And now, as we told, not from the shoulders. See, this is not you should do. No. This doesn't give enough compressions. You should lean on the patient and give from depth. From the hip joint, you should have your movement. This is how you have to give CPR movement. Okay. And this should be given at a rate of 100 to 120 per minute. And you should count. Always count, because for every 30 compressions, once your 30 compressions are done, if there is anyone else or only you are alone, you should give 2 breaths. Once your 30 compressions are done, you should give 2 breaths to the patient. Again start 30 compressions. That's how it should be till the pulse comes. Okay. So I will give you now. So lean your all the way here and you should count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And each of these both upper limit only, and just give 2 breaths, again start. 1, 2. This is how you should do CPR. And when you are giving breaths to the patient, you can see his chest rising. You should see that his chest rises. Right now, when it's 18, you are not properly locking. That's what it is. So 30, 2. 30 and 2. Suppose if there are 2 persons who can give CPR or you can exchange. Because I'm telling you, you will be fatigued with the CPR. It's not such an easy thing which you want to see. So you have to use all your energy to save the patient. मेहनत तो करना पड़ेगा to save the patient. So yeah. So this is how you do. Anyone wants to, one of you come and volunteer to me. How you can do? It's not only CPR. Start from breathing. Assess the response of the patient. Respond later, then how you see pulse, and then how you start CPR. Like how it goes. Don't feel anything. You should directly get things. What have you understood? Just do it. Everyone see. I said, are you okay?
Exactly how you have to call. It is exactly what you are doing is right. So that is how you will have to wake up me. Try to get some response from the patient. See,
I said also English is not important. Any language is important.
Okay, so then I will check whether
no, he's not responding.
no, it's not responding.
Right.
After checking the pulse,
Pulse is not there. You check the pulse नहीं है. So next one.
then I will start using the
Start.
Okay, so firstly I will put this is my dominant hand. So I will do like this and interlock my hand. So the first tool is that heart is on the center, so I will put it on the center. Yeah.
So
Now I will.
hands on. Lean on the
Lean on the patient.
Okay, so now I will.
See your shoulders. Once you make the hands straight, elbows straight, your shoulders should be straight above the sternum. That's how it should be.
On the other hand also you can say.
This elbow.
The other hand also should be straight.
Both elbows should be straight. And your shoulders should be straight on the sternum. Yeah, this is how it should be.
So now I will get 30 pounds.
Down. It should be straight out. Start from.
'Always be with the इंटरलॉकेट प्रॉपरली एंड थोड़ा सा पीछे आ जाओ, ठीक है. योर मूवमेंट इज फ्रॉम द बैक, इट इज नॉट फ्रॉम द शोल्डर, ठीक है. इट इज नॉट अबाउट कीपिंग ऑन गिविंग कंप्रेशन, ठीक है. इट शुड बी मोर इफेक्टिव, okay, and you should allow adequate relaxation, that is more important, okay. You keep compressing it and then nothing will go inside, okay. It is compressions and relaxations of the heart, it is not just compressing. See, you should not keep moving the hands should not move from it should be fixed in one position. It should allow recoil, but it should not move from that place. It is the same place where you have to keep giving compression.
Anyone volunteering to do full cycles of CPR?
5 cycles of CPR. Anybody wants to?
It wants to try.
You can take some help from someone.
You can take help from someone else. I want two volunteers. Two volunteers. Both of you.
You can give breaths, you can give compressions.
I'll tell you. One headset.
Who is giving compression, who is giving breath?
So both of you are the first responder to solve the patient lying on the floor. So one of you call ambulance
And you assess the patient now first.
respond like that. We should do. Once 30 should be done, exit. Or continue with the evaluation. But whenever you are next 30, if you take after next 30, I can't do. They tell you before last completion. Suppose you are 25, tell you. Right, next 30, complete 30, you give that, you switch over. Or you can continue next 30 evaluations from next 30. Okay.
Idea is to show how if two people are there, how it should be coordinated. That is what you have to see. Okay? Again. Wait. Keep your elbows straight. This is the same thing that you have to keep in mind. Whenever you are giving, this is what you have to keep in mind. Count. Elbow से straight करवा. And you have to keep counting. Wait करो. तो सीधा सेंटर पे रखो. and सीधा रखो. over the patient. Keep movement this from your hip. You have to keep moving like this. Okay? Consciously just keep it in mind that your elbow should be straight.
Straight.
ऐसे नहीं. Interlocker. पूरा interlocker है. Steady रखो. ऐसा अभी करो. See, consciously you will have to keep counting and then make sure it is all straight. And you are giving again. Wait. And there is one more thing. We have to give adequate compressions we were talking about. See, what the compressions you are giving is up to this only. Okay? You are not giving it adequately. So it should go for at least 5 centimeters and then it should recoil. That is the basic. That is when your heart will get compressed. You can switch for now. You come here. सेंटर पे रखो. सेंटर पे रखो. अभी करो. हाथ को सराउंड किया इधर नहीं था. ठीक है तो लॉक करो फिर से.
Thank you, sir, for this marvelous session. It has equipped us with imaginable knowledge and skills that will help to potentially save lives.
We want to extend our sincerest appreciation to all of you who have contributed your time, effort and expertise to make this event a resounding success. From our distinguished instructors to our diligent members and enthusiastic participants, each one of you has played a crucial role in spreading awareness and knowledge about CPR and life-saving techniques.
Now, to conclude this event, I would like to invite our club president, who is also serving as the community service chair at Rotaract District 3011, Rotaractor Sahil Sharma, to give a final vote of thanks.
On the behalf of Rotaract Club of Shahid Bhagat Singh College, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Principal Sir, Dr. Arun Kumar Atri Sir, for graciously allowing us to conduct the CPR workshop on the campus. Your support and encouragement have been instrumental in making this event a success. We would also like to express our sincere appreciation to the esteemed doctors who generously shared their time, knowledge and expertise in conducting CPR workshop. Their dedication to educating and empowering our community with life-saving skills is truly commendable. We sincerely thank our convener, Dr. Rajkumar Agarwal sir and Dr. Rangana Thakur ma'am for their constant support towards us and our society. Their support kept on motivating us to do more and more towards social service. The workshop has been an enlightening experience for all the participants, equipping us with essential skills and knowledge that can make a significant difference in emergency situations. We are immensely grateful for the opportunity to learn from such experienced professionals. Once again, thank you for unwavering support and invaluable contribution to the doctors. Your commitment to fostering a culture of learning and community engagement is deeply appreciated. Thank you so much.